Ever wondered how neural networks actually learn? Let me break it down for you with two simple but powerful ideas: forward propagation and backward propagation. Together, they're the backbone of how modern AI figures stuff out. Let's start with forward propagation. Imagine feeding an image into a neural network. Maybe it's a photo of a cat. That image gets turned into a long list of numbers, which are sent into the first layer of the network, the input layer. Now, every connection between the layers has a weight, a little knob the network can turn to emphasize or ignore certain information. In the first hidden layer, each neuron takes those input numbers, multiplies them by their respective weights, adds something called a bias, and then runs the result through an activation function. Think of the activation function as a filter. It decides how much signal passes through. This process repeats for every hidden layer, passing the transformed numbers forward. Eventually, you get to the output layer, and out pops the network's prediction. Cat, dog, banana, whatever it thinks the input was. But what if it's wrong? That's where backward propagation swoops in to save the day. First, I need to see how far off my network's guess was. I compare the prediction to the correct answer, using a loss function, kind of like a scoreboard for how badly it guessed. Next comes the clever bit, calculating gradients. These gradients tell me how much each weight and bias in the network contributed to the error. I start at the output and work my way backward, figuring out which knobs to tweak to shrink the error. Finally, with all these gradients in hand, I adjust the weights and biases just a little using an optimizer like gradient descent. Imagine you're trying to find the lowest point in a bumpy landscape. Gradients point you in the right direction, and the learning rate decides how big a step you take. Forward and backward propagation aren't just one-time things. I repeat them over and over with lots of data. Every cycle, the network gets a bit smarter, refining its weights and biases, and getting better at making predictions. So, in a nutshell, forward propagation makes the guess, backward propagation fixes the mistakes. Together, they're why neural networks can learn to recognize faces, translate languages, or even beat humans at games. If you're curious about what's happening under the hood of AI, understanding these two steps is the perfect place to start. Thanks for sticking around. Catch you in the next one.